Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface with Emergency Az number 10. Emergency Az videos, raw reactionary type of videos to breaking news within gaming. It's been Gamescom this week, we all know that. On Thursday, Blizzard Entertainment announced the new World of Warcraft expansion. It's going to be called Legion, we all knew that. Why the emergency Az? Well, all eyes turned to today. Why did they turn to today? Because Blizzard announced that there'd be a Q&A about Legion, which got people excited. Why did it get people excited? Well, we've had Q&As from Blizzard before. We have them on a semi-regular basis. And when we have one of these Q&As, there's a lot that gets asked. Yeah, sure, there's a lot of questions which get filtered, but there's a lot that get asked and stuff goes through and stuff get answered. You know, maybe not everything that we want, but certain elements that we want. Now, with the announcement of Legion, and I understand that Blizzard don't want to shoot their wad straight away, you know. They want to put the cock ring at the base of the penis and just go, oh yeah, slow it down, love, slow it down, love. Whee, easy tiger. I understand that, but can I just say, what in the literal fuck was that bullshit? It was terrible. I mean, utterly terrible. I'm thinking to myself, I can't get wound up about a fucking Q&A. And here I am, wound up about a Q&A. It was a mitigated rubbish. Utterly a mitigated rubbish. What was the Q&A? Well, the Q&A was actually, let's look back at Gamescom at competitions and guests that we've had and, you know, Method doing the raiding race and challenge modes and dance competitions and cosplay competitions. And everyone who's at Gamescom, look, great stuff. Great, you know, I'm sure you had a gay old time and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You had fun. But that's not why people tuned in today. They tuned in today for the Q&A. You know, if Blizzard wanted to announce that they were going to have an event on Thursday that was going to show off highlights of the week at Gamescom, and they were going to recap informations about Legion, then that's transparency with what you're putting out to the community. But we have had these Q&As before. We know what they're about. And therefore, when you announce it as a Q&A, you know full fucking well what you're doing. You know full well that you are enticing people to come in with the expectation that they're going to find out more information about Legion. And that was never, ever whatsoever your remit. That was never ever what you had planned at all. And again, it's just misleading fucking bullshit. Why didn't they tell us everything? Well, of course, BlizzCon. Because it's all going to be announced at BlizzCon in, you know, 3 months' time, whatever. 8, 9, yeah, about 3 months' time. So it's all going to be announced 3 months' time down the line when you go to BlizzCon and they announce it again. And then we get to see more, and then they go into more details about how many Apexis zones are going to be in the new expansion, and that's when people start killing themselves. You know, that's what's going to happen. So, look, a little bit of transparency just goes a long way. Now you get what you're going to get, and I've been around fucking forums, I've been around the internet. I woke up today, my fucking Twitter was on fire. I mean, it was on absolute fire. I looked there and it's like, absolutely shit tons of messages waiting for me, notifications, and it's all, what the fucking hell, have you seen the Q&A? And I'm just thinking, oh my god, Blizzard just like got a gun out and shot everyone in fucking BlizzCon. It's just like, what have they done? And so I watched this Q&A, which on the actual YouTube channel, because I watched it on the YouTube channel, and it was like an hour and 15 minutes long. You have to, like, fast forward 30 minutes or something before it even starts, because, like, 30 minutes is just a countdown clock saying, we're counting down. And then when it started, it was just like, what's the name of the expansion? It's going to be called Legion. Okay, let's take a break. And look at Dick. It's Dick from Devon in the United Kingdom, and he's dressed as a leek, which you can find in Elwyn Forest, and he's great. And it was like that. It was just like, what just happened there? And then it finishes about 20 minutes before the end of the fucking video anyway, which meant the Q&A was about fucking 5 minutes long. It's just like, what the fuck? Right. That's my reaction to what I thought. Let's talk about what was mentioned in the Q&A. Let's see what other informations we can find out. Well, I'll tell you what, when the first question came out, and I wasn't so sort of like cynical because I thought we're going to get a proper Q&A here. When the first question came out, when they were talking about Legion, and I can't remember, it's probably Tom Chilton who said this. But they said, we've been working on Legion for 1.5 years. We've been working on Legion before Warlords was released. Now that kind of answers a lot of questions as to why Warlords was so fucking shit. Because they clearly weren't even bothering with it. I mean, that seems to be the key. So people that said to me, is Warlords a filler expansion? And there's me, like, literally trying to defend Blizzard, saying, look, you can't have a filler expansion. It just can't happen. It can't be that way. You can't ask people to buy an expansion, pay a subscription fee, and then turn around and say, well, it's kind of like a filler expansion. Well, it's perfectly clear now Warlords of Draenor was indeed a filler expansion. It doesn't seem to have been made with anything whatsoever other than setup for this expansion, which also managed to garnish them a big fat ton of money in the process. So, yeah, to all those people who I said this isn't a filler expansion, you can't have that one. Do you know something? I'm going to say you were right, I was fucking wrong. Because this, with that statement being made at the beginning then, this couldn't sound any more like a half-assed, money-grabbing piece of shit, Warlords of Draenor, than it already comes across at. And that's pretty impressive, because it really comes across as a half-assed piece of shit, money-grabbing piece of crap. So, you know, kudos, Blizzard, for that kind of admission, whether it is passive or not, kind of admission that Warlords was just really there to get you fucking paid. And so he could focus on the proper expansion. And of course, you know, maybe they threw Warlords in because they thought, should we have a gap between 5.4 and 7.0 of 2.5 years? Nah, let's just make it 1 year, 4 months. That should do. And then we'll just fucking stick some AP dailies and we'll call that an expansion. Yay! Money! Woo! Jesus Christ. The amount of respect you've got for your player base is just unreal. Absolutely unreal. Anywho! So the question was, are we in an alternate Azeroth? Because we've been in an alternate bullshit timeline for WoD. No, we're in our Azeroth. We've gone back to our timeline. Gul'dan has now come over. Archimonde has flicked him through the portal, and he's actually come through to our timeline as well. That is our Illidan. It is our Illidan present day, so he didn't die at the top of the Black Temple, which means that the demon half of Illidan obviously kept him alive. There was lots of debate whether Illidan was truly dead or not, because some people were saying no, because he's part demon, therefore unless he dies in the nether, he can't truly be dead, but there's other people saying, well, he's half demon, so those laws don't apply, and yes, he is dead, and all this kind of stuff, and Blizzard have said, yeah, you know, we're thinking about a way to bring Illidan back, you know, but he's back, and apparently he's pissed off because we, inverted commas, killed him. Wouldn't you be? But is he going to be friend? Is he going to be foe? Ambiguous. We don't know. But apparently we are going to be trying to call on him for help at some point in the expansion. I also put a question here, because I've got some notes. I've got some notes on this Q&A, and this Q&A was so fucking in-depth. I have 13 lines of notes. That is it. And half of the lines are just half lines, like, are we in Azeroth? We are in Azeroth. 13 lines of notes on the Q&A because it's so wank. I put, what's happening, though, in mainland Azeroth? Because they're talking about these infinite number of demons pouring through and the world's burning and all this kind of stuff. Well, what's happening on mainland Azeroth? Can we have a look, please? Can we have a look at this world that's burning? Does it mean there's going to be any changes to Azeroth? Or when we go to Stormwind, or when we go to Orgrimmar, everything's just going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. So I think there's like a lot of questions being asked about mainland Azeroth and what the deuce is going on there. BlizzCon. They also talked about Dalaran, because everyone was just so desperate to hear about Dalaran. Dalaran, it's essentially the same. It's got a few texture changes. It's got a couple of changes and tweaks with the underbelly and stuff. But it's essentially the same. And it's also going to be a neutral faction hub for both Horde and the Alliance. Now that Jaina has been booted out, she's dead. I don't know. It looks like loads of heroes are dying. We think Tyrion's going to die. We think Jaina's going to die. We think Varian's going to die. Nobody from the Horde, though. No, they can't lose their beloveds. That's who we think's, from what they've kind of like intimated, that's what we think's going on. So Dalaran's going to be the same. Flying, not going to be given straight away. Well, we kind of got that, we kind of got that anyway, and I think they've said it about several times, because they've said going forward, we're essentially going to do the same thing that we did in Warlords. And in the first patch, in 7.0, you will be able to work towards getting flying, but whether you'll be able to fly in 7.0, not sure at the moment. Artifact weapons. Now, I've got an artifact weapon video coming out, because I've got quite a bit to say about the artifact weapons, but I'm not going to tell you what, why, and when. But artifact weapons you get from the very start of the expansion, and you work on it straight away, so there are going to be no weapons in Legion. And this is why I have this video coming about artifact weapons, because I think there's some big things to discuss there. But you start your artifact weapons and you find relics, and you attach these relics to the weapon, and that's what's going to increase the power of them. That's what's going to increase the item level of them, and unlock this and unlock that, and that's how it's going to go. And how do you get the relics? Well, by the sounds of it, standard fare. Questing, dungeons, raiding, blah, blah, blah. Professions are getting a quest line. Yep, move on. Demon Hunters. When they started talking about Demon Hunters, I was like, yeah, at least we're going to get something about the new class. What did they say about Demon Hunters? Well, they were influenced by the lore of Warcraft 3, and they will likely be played by melees. So if melees... there's not going to be a saturation of melee classes, because one melee will switch out to play Demon Hunter. Bullshit! How do you make that determination? How do you make that determination? I play a range class. I play Warlock. I'm interested in Demon Hunter. I want to play Demon Hunter, and if I get really invested in Demon Hunter, I might carry on with Demon Hunter. So I don't know where they get this idea of if you're melee, you might play Demon Hunter. If you're not melee, chances are you won't. What? Based off what analysis do you form these theories upon? But that's just a little bit. And that was it. Honest to God, that was it. And then after that, he said something along the lines of, well, that satisfies all of our questions. No, it fucking doesn't! But look, okay, all kind of like extreme reactions aside, this was clearly a setup for BlizzCon. Again, I can understand why you would do that, but at the same time, why'd you have to shit all over your customer base to do things like this? Just be transparent with what it was. That's all you had to do. It's a recap on Thursday. We're going to go through, we're going to have competitions, we're going to have fun, we're going to have this, we're going to have that, and then we're just going to recap some of the informations and maybe a couple of points which people are raising, like, for the instance, the flying and the professions, and just a couple of things. But don't turn it into something that it fucking wasn't, because I just left that with a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. Just a little bit of that, man. Well, clearly it's just like all set up for BlizzCon 3 months down the line, and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't come across correctly, didn't feel right, and it's just wank, really. Well, it wasn't any good, really, was it? So there we go. Emergency has number 10, the Blizz Q&A. What a fucking sack of shit that was. Thank you for wasting 30 minutes of my life, Blizzard. Even if it did even last 30 minutes, the Q&A bit, I don't know. I don't even know if it lasts 30 minutes. But let me know what you guys and gals thought about it in the comments down below. Because, judging by the way that my Twitter exploded, you weren't too chuffed either. And also, actually, before I do sign off, I did see a couple of tweets, and I just want to bring this to your attention, because I saw these on the front page of MMO Champ, where a chap called Lee Wells says to Ian Hazakosis, possibly the worst Q&A I've ever seen. So disappointing, wasted my time. And Ian responded, sorry you felt that way. We probably should have promoted it differently. But it was more of a GC recap with some new info. Well, it really didn't have that much new info other than professions are getting a quest line. I think that was the only new info. I'm struggling to think of No flying right away. They've mentioned that before, though, so I don't think that's new information. So Professionals getting a quest line was the only new bit of information I think we actually got from that Q&A. So, yes, Ian, you probably should have done. The thing is, though, you knew exactly what you're doing. Look at this. WOD beta account says, "No, you're lying. We were promised a decent Q&A with new info. You answered none of our questions. Stop lying to us." And then retorts that by saying, "Genuinely curious where that promise was made, because clearly we did a terrible job of setting expectations." Well, yeah, remember, folks, Blizzard never make promises. They just double talk you. They just tie you up in knots with rhetoric and stuff like that. So they confuse you so much, and they always come back to you when you say, "Well, you promised." No, we never promised. We said we'll try, and all this kind of double standardy bullshit. But yeah, the expectations were set that we thought we were going to have some sort of Q&A of akin to the Q&As that you've done in the past. You knew this. You knew this. You're not fucking dumb people. You knew this. You knew exactly what you did. Shame on you again. But you got really good feels going out in the community with the launch of Legion. Why do something like this? And even if it's a small proportion, you're still going to get those people that were so disillusioned with WOD that watch Legion and were just like, "Oh, yeah, do you know something? That's giving me good vibes." And then they go to the Q&A and then they have this bollocks and then back to square one again and just like, "Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, whoa, no. I do have to be cautious about this company, don't I? Because they do talk a load of fucking shit. And they do tend to it's like they sort of like whittle your way into your pants. You know what I mean? It's all like, "Oh, you're so sexy, you're so gorgeous," and you're just like, "Oh, I'm gonna get laid, I'm gonna get laid," and they're just like, "See ya!" And then they fucking go off with somebody else, and you're just like, "Goddamn cock teasing bitch." It's like that. That's exactly how this kind of feels, and I think some people are going to be a little bit more cautious now as regards to how they kind of take Legion information, because let's face it, we've had a reveal, but we've had no substance. We've had features, but we've got no substance. Now we're in not the middle, but we're coming up, let's say, in a week's time to the middle of August. If they are going to try and release this new expansion to coincide with the movie, let's say it comes out April, May time to get feelers out for the movie in June, they haven't started in the best of ways. They could have done better after what I thought was a decent reveal, but I'm just very cynical. I'm just very cautious. So I took what they said and was just like, okay, but I'm not going to get too excited because I need to see tangible stuff. I need to see this in action, and I need to see how much proper content we get at top level, because leveling up don't mean jack shit. Don't mean jack shit. It's a great experience. It can be a fun experience, but it don't mean jack shit in the grand scale of things. I'd rather have a terrible leveling up experience and a brilliant end game than vice versa. So yeah, I'm really kind of cautious about this. But Blizz, stop pissing on your community and tell them it's raining. Just be transparent. It's not hard to do. Really isn't hard to do. Fuck's sake. Anyway, there we go. We'll sign off now. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Those links are also in the description down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.